Yep, you're right. It's that time of the week where we get to take a look at the reserve list and see what's going on with another episode of Reserve List Cards You Should Be Watching. For quite a few people, the reserve list is a very boring topic. It doesn't seem to change. Nothing ever happens. It's the same 572 cards. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. And guys, I love the reserve list. Can't wait to talk about it each and every week. And trust me, for those of you who weren't aware, things change all the time. Prices go up and down just like the stock market. Popularity waxes and wanes. People cash in their chips. Other people's chips just collapse. And some people, the whales out there, come in hoarding and adding to their position. And this is the episode, the reserve list, where we get to take a look and see what's going on with some cards you should be watching. Maybe they're going up, maybe they're going down, and maybe it's your time to take a bite out of that reserve list. Because not every card is very expensive. For a lot of new players who just want to get in there, spend $5, get your first reserve list card, and after that, most people don't even look back. They just say, give me some more. Love it. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at some amazing cards on the reserve list that you should be watching. We're going to start out with a fist in hand, and that is Gauntlet of Might Unlimited Edition. Now, forecasting cost artifact, all red creatures gain +1/+1, and all mountains provide an extra red mana when tapped. It's its own personal mana flare for mountains. I love this card. I still have a copy now, although it's collector edition, and I would love to get my hands on an OG original Unlimited if I could. It's just... it reminds me, it brings me back to my teenage years. But you know what? You also don't see this played a lot. I mean, there's not a lot of copies out there. I've checked the market. Sales still happen here and there. But this price has been slowly dipping down. So I'm not recommending buying this card right now. And if it's a card you're watching, this is something you want to pay attention to. When it's dipping down, when it's losing just a few bucks here and there, that's the time you want to start watching, because other people are now starting to think, I got to sell this card. I want to flip into something else. I need the cash. And they're going to start their race to the bottom. And when that happens, you, if you're paying attention to it, can come out ahead if this is a card you want. Now, I found it locally as cheap as $800 or as much as $1,800. I understand that is a big chunk of change to get into, from heavily played to near mint, from the collector to the player. It just depends on where you're at when you decide to go for cards like this. You just want a played copy? Go spend $800, get a played, beat up copy. You want near mint for investment, you want to put that on a shelf, you want that to be a conversation piece, BGS9. I get it, guys. You're paying top dollar, $1,800 plus. And of course, that depends on the edition it's in. You could go really cheap, get a collector edition or an international edition. You can get really cheap ones there. But if you want a real one, and by real, I mean, you know, that everyone will accept as a real one, because, I mean, I don't care about collector edition myself, but a lot of people still do. When we see something like this, you can say, yep, this is a fun card to have. And that is Gauntlet of Might. It's one of those cards most people forget is still around, and it's on the reserve list. Now, our next card today, Willow Priestess. For those of you who are looking at entry-level stuff, this is where you kind of want to focus in on. Homelands had a very large print run. Cards like Willow Priestess didn't make a lot of sense back in the day. There wasn't a lot of fairies and stuff out there. But that is different now. After Throne of Eldraine, we had a large collection of fairies that we were able to tap into to build decent kind of decks, have some tribal fun. Not all the cards are there yet, but cards like this could spike up later on. This card, I think, went as high as $20 US before it started its descent. It's like, what, 60% off right now, which is kind of crazy. When I look at it now, $10 Canadian for a near mint copy. You can see the average is $6.61 US, €6.75 to get that card into your house. And it lets you put a fairy directly from your hand into play. These are kind of unique mechanics that Wizards will not really be exploiting anytime soon or adding to Tribal. So when you see more fairies coming in, they're kind of lacking that ability, but that's okay because this card is so affordable that it doesn't even hurt you to spend the $10 to go and get one if you're in Canada. And it's a great entry-level card. If you're overseas, look, guys, it's even cheaper for you by the exchange rate. Great card, very cheap. And again, as I'm going to say in this video, like I always say, when it's this cheap, you got to go for near mint. Find the best absolute copy you can get and that you can afford, okay? I'm not saying get a graded copy from Homelands. I'm saying pay attention to it. If you think it could be a card that could spike later on, in my opinion, you got to go for near mint then, because those are the ones that people will be looking for later. And these cards were abused. That's just how it was. All right, our next card is Rogoth of Crypt. Now, this is a bad boy of comedy. I remember well because he was in my Kobolds deck. Love this guy. 120 bucks Canadian. He's really come down in price for a near mint copy. The average price is $81.83 US. This is a very affordable Legends card. Now, there's not a lot of Kobolds out there. We had that one guy, the Mighty, from I think Modern Horizons 2, and he cost 1 when every other Kobold out there cost 0. And we've got Crypt, which can make you Kobolds. So Rogoth here can be a really fun card in the right type of deck. I'm going to be using him in my Throw Bowl deck. And I just want to mention that a lot of these Legends right now, from Legends, are starting to fall in price. These are things you want to pay attention. Look at that drop on the stratosphere of his spreadsheet there. Just boom, he goes down. That is great for those of us who can hold on a long time. If you're a new investor and you want to get into a really old 94 card, this is something you can get into at a very affordable price. And you can look at other Legends from the same era. Look at any on the reserve list, and some are a lot cheaper than this, okay? Rogoth's just the one I'm showing today. Now, when we're talking about Forcefield, I remember earlier on in the channel's days here with me where I said, you should be buying this card for $150. Why are people passing it up? It's 3 to cast. It can lower damage down to 1 from any massive unblocked creature. This thing has lots of potential. And since then, this card has taken off. Now, when you want a near mint copy, you're talking $1,000 Canadian near mint. The average in the US is $685.02 US. The market is $524.87 US. And it's €413.33 to get this card into your house. I still say it's underrated. It should be higher in price. Okay? But it's spiked right now, and I don't think that's going to hold. So again, I hate to say it, but this is a card that I'm watching. I'd like to get another copy for myself, but I'm willing to wait to see if this thing keeps falling. These are the lower end, kind of higher tier reserve list cards that seem to kind of bounce around. The bouncing is less nowadays, but it still happens. If it's a card you're interested in, I definitely think you can wait. The sales on this are slow. They're not moving quickly, and it's allowing a lot of room for those of us who can wait for this card to fall to pounce on it at just the right time. Guys, Forcefield's amazing. I definitely keep my eye on this card. Now, our next card is Wheel of Fortune. Very interesting card to talk about today. $1,000 this card reached for like BGS copies and stuff, okay? $1,000. It is so fallen from favor. It is just come like a comet down to earth. And when you look at this, you can find it locally here in Toronto for $300 Canadian, heavily played. Not near mint, but if you need a copy to play with, this will definitely get you there. The average price is $366.65. A lot of people lost some money on this. Cards like this, you don't buy and flip. You got to buy it because you want it for a deck, and you got to hold on for a long period of time. If you are buying to invest, say you want to put, I don't know, you want to buy 5 copies, and you buy, you know, 1 near mint and a couple of light played and maybe a heavily played or 2, and now you're like tapped out, you got to hold those for 5 to 7 years. You're not doing any short-term flipping. Those days are done. You got to earn your keep. You got to hold on to cards like this, but it is such a good card still. It's on the reserve list. I mean, the Judge promos are still a fortune, by the way, guys. But this is one of those cards I've been paying attention to. The sales are solid. As it's been falling, the sales have just stayed consistent. It's made the top 10 on the lower end a couple of times. My top 10 weekend reserve list videos. It's made those lists, and it's always kind of hovering there. So there are whales, you know, and they're nipping around the edges of this card, but they're waiting to see if they can drain more from the market. If more people have to cash in their chips to make this card more affordable. If you need a play copy, if you just want a heavily played beat up copy, this is the time to buy it. Anytime in the next 90 days. All right, our next card is Ritual of Subdual. Now, as an entry-level, low-end, horrible reserve list card, I actually used this at one point. Okay, let me explain. It says there, cumulative upkeep of 2. All mana-producing lands produce colorless mana instead of their normal mana. All right, you follow that, right? I had this in an Eldrazi deck with like a Skull of Orm, and I would put this out to like mess up everybody else's lands as my Eldrazi hit the battlefield. And then I would put this out, and they're like, what? Because now their spells have no color. When it came to their turn, they couldn't do anything. It was kind of a fun card. Janky. People don't expect it. Don't expect big results from this card. It does cost 6 to get out. But I wouldn't even pay the upkeep. I'd let it die, then use my Skull of Orm at the end of their turn to retrieve it. It was hilarious. So it's an amazing card. I love it. I had 4 in the deck. Now, as $4 Canadian goes, this is a pretty cheap, inexpensive reserve list card to get. There are a lot of reserve list cards that fall into this market where they're very cheap, very affordable. If you're going to get into this low-end stuff, I still say nowadays, now that I've seen the effects of near mint versus light played, moderate played, heavily played, and damaged, there is not a lot of near mint out there. Near mint's where you have to focus if you want good return for investment. But the fact that these cards are so cheap still after all these years just means it's good on us who decide to buy them. If you're willing to hold on to this and never share it with the world again and just start hoarding copies, it is kind of fun. It gets kind of addictive, and a lot of people on my channel understand that. Guys, so cheap, okay? How can we say it's not a great card? Now, here we go. I've talked about these bad boys a couple of times, all right? Here we have the Anaba Spirit Crafter from Homelands. Crafter, not the other one. Crafter. Pardon my bad pronunciation. All Minotaurs get +1/+0. Now, as far as a 4 casting cost goes, this is kind of weak. It's a 1/3 for 4. But it is a Minotaur, and it gives all your Minotaurs more boost. And they seem to put more Minotaurs out every couple of sets. They add to it, like they're building small little tribal inroads for people who want to do it in Command or play for some janky fun times. I'm just saying, for $5 Canadian near mint, the average price is $3.22. The market's $2.56. $10 gets you 4. Yep, I see where I'm going with this. This thing has been plummeting down since its highs of back in 2021, early 2021. And I can say that, you know what? Somebody else's loss is your gain if you want to buy it on the cheap and hang on to it. Maybe have some fun with some good old half men, half bull type decks. All right, and the same goes for the Anaba Ancestor, okay? This one says, target Minotaur gets +1/+1 until end of turn. I actually tried using this back in the 90s, but there wasn't enough Minotaurs to use. But nowadays, for a 1 red, 1 other for a 1/1, okay, it's a ghost, cool. And it just gives a +1/+1 to Minotaurs. That's not bad. For a couple of bucks, it's not bad. Even by today's standards, it's not the worst card out there. So this card is kind of held up a little better than the Earthcrafter guy, right? Like this is just a better Spirit Crafter. Sorry, this is just a little bit better, and that's kind of cool to see. So I mean, for a couple of bucks, why not, right? All right, Breathstealer's Crypt. I've mentioned this card a couple of times. It can be a lot of fun. Whenever any player draws a card, he or she reveals that card. If the card is a creature card, that player plays 3 life or discards the card. Now, I don't want you to think of this in terms of just, picture this in Commander, and picture yourself building an enchantment deck that has absolutely no creatures. And then lots of ways of bringing those enchantments back. Need I say more? Yes, this card hasn't dropped as far as some. It's $20. It's showing some consistency. It's had a few spikes here or there. $20 Canadian, $15.20 US. The market's $19.31. And it's €7.11 to get this card to your house. It's still pretty affordable. With what we can do with enchantments now, you can't pass up a card like this that will mess up every other deck. Okay, Well of Knowledge. $12 Canadian near mint, Weatherlight. 3 casting cost, and any player may pay 2 during his or her draw phase to draw a card. Players may use this ability as many times as they choose. I have a friend who uses a whole bunch of drawing cards, and this is in there. But he uses it with a time walking deck. He's got like Ral Zarek and stuff in there. And he's just like blowing through turns like mad. And whenever he has a couple of turns built up, he will pump massive amounts of mana into this thing and just draw multiple cards. So when he gets to that next turn, he's already gone through a lot of chaff. He's discarded things. And he can brutalize people. It's building the deck in the right way. This card will be $50 one day. Okay? Maybe not there yet, but it will be 50 bucks one day. The average price is $8.62. The market is $8.82, and it's €5.83 to get this card to your house. You see where I'm going with this? It's not a very expensive card right now. It's pretty affordable, 12 bucks Canadian near mint. I can see why people are starting to buy this card. The market is starting to move on this one. All right, Tolarian Entrancer. I've mentioned him a few times back in the day. I mentioned it before. I guess it was like 2019, 2020, when he was just starting to creep once in a while. Now, keeping him alive is hard, but if you can keep him alive, or you make somebody block and you can find a way to flash in a shield counter nowadays to regenerate him or keep him alive somehow, taking control of somebody's creature when they least expect it is just awesome. And again, he's one blue, one other, and he's a 1/1 with a very unique, cool mechanic attached to him. Yeah, this guy may not have a home yet, but he's one of those cards I'm glad I bought 4 of, because I can just see him going somewhere in the future. Now, our next card. This one is not one of the cheapest ones. This is Tolarian. The funny thing was, when I checked this Tempest card locally, it was 140 bucks Canadian. It was far cheaper to buy this on TCG Player than spend the money locally to buy this card. So I wouldn't buy this at 401 or face-to-face. I would go on something like TCG Player, Card Kingdom, and buy it because it is cheaper there. The average price is $85 US. The market is $75.61 US, and it's €64.54 to get this card to your house. It is starting to trickle down. It is cool to see, you know, it's got 2 green, 2 generic. Any player may play a creature card with the total casting cost of 3 or less whenever he or she could play an instant card without paying the mana cost. Do you see what I'm saying? Cards like this with those cool mechanics can just be abusive, be fun. I love it. So, yes, this card should be bought. It's at a pretty good price point if you're buying somewhere other than locally here in Toronto. So go ahead, stab into that card. I know I want to. All right, our next card is Molotani, the Morrow Sorcerer. Okay, Summon Legend. Guys, $15 Canadian near mint. But depending on how you're playing this guy in Commander, listen to this guy. His power and toughness are equal to the total number of cards in all players' hands. So if you're playing a very large game, you're playing like 4 to 6 player Commander, and this bad boy hits the battlefield and nobody can do anything about it, or you catch him off guard, wow. This can be a lot of fun. And for 10 bucks, $10 US, $15 Canadian, I am willing to have some fun with this. And remember, this is Urza's Legacy. That foil is OG original, first time foils came out, and that is $199 of fun. Ah, love it, guys. Love it. €8.35 to get this card to your house. When played the right way, playing a fun deck, nobody expects to see it coming. Love it. Okay, Deranged Hermit. Man, we had the highs in Modern Horizons 2 with all the Squirrel Armada that came out, chitter banged, and all the cannons and wonderful things that the squirrels could do for us. And Deranged Hermit took a ride with that as well. But look what's happened since then. He has come plummeting down, so I've got to make people aware of it in case they hope to build a squirrel deck one day. This is the opportunity. Now, $70 Canadian near mint. The average price is $56.10. The market is $56.10. I don't think buying at least one for a commander deck and holding on for your lifetime is going to hurt you at all. I think you're going to see good dividends on that. And remember, foils, that's right, Urza's Legacy, $369.95. And there is a Judge promo of this card that they shouldn't have printed that they did. So keep that in mind as well. It's also very hard to get. All right, and it's €37.40 to get that Deranged Hermit to come live at your house. That's what it's going to take to get him there. All right, guys, our next card today is Liege of Hollows. I'm mentioning this because I mentioned the last one, of course. So, if Liege of Hollows is put into a graveyard from play, each player may pay any amount of mana to put that number of squirrel tokens into play under their control. Treat those tokens as 1/1 green creatures. So you see where I'm going with this. It's a super cheap card. It goes along with our Deranged Hermit. It goes along with the other squirrels out there. And if you wait till somebody's tapped out and they don't have a lot of mana available and you've just been sitting there and you play this, it's so cool to find a way to kill it right away. You put it into play, kill it, and just tons of mana gets pumped in. Love it. Okay? Very cool card. You want it to die and you want to get those squirrels. The squirrel army shall live on. And one day Wizards will respect that and give my Thrall army as well. All right. Our next card. The last one of the day is Corpse Dance. I know we had a bigger video than I expected today because there was quite a bit of movement on some of these cards. Corpse Dance, Corpse Dance. Yes, I can't speak. You know how it is. Tempest. $40 Canadian near mint. It has the buyback ability. Okay? Put the top creature card from your graveyard into play. That creature is unaffected by summoning sickness. Remove that card from the game at the end of your turn, and you can buy it back. When you set up a deck to do a certain amount of things, if you set up the right Eldrazi, if you set up the right type of cards, this is going to be a devastating card when you use the buyback ability. Keep that in mind. Old school stuff like this, Wizards just doesn't do it like that anymore, guys. And it's quite affordable, and it's just starting to trend down now. And remember, guys, the trend is your friend. When these cards start coming down in price, and if one of them is one of the ones you like, whatever card it may be on the reserve list, just follow it. Just follow it day after day, week after week, and see where it's headed. If you notice every week or so the price drops a little bit, you know you can still wait. If you look at the sales listings and you watch my videos and you see it's starting to uptick a bit, or I've mentioned it in a video because there's some strange movement, somebody's attempting a buyout, you know, before that happens, you might want to nail it. Right when you see that video that day, you're like, click, because other people will know the exact same information you got when you got it from my channel. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Thanks a lot for tuning in. The reserve list is amazing. There were so many cards to talk about today, and I can't wait for the weekend where we get to talk about our hot top 10 reserve list videos on Sunday, and of course our hot top 10 video of the best selling cards of the week. And trust me, we're going to see quite a bit of Commander Legends Baldur's Gate, because the sales on singles are crazy. I'll see you guys then. And of course, a special thank you to each and every one of the fantastic patrons on this channel who shows their support each and every month, helping my channel continue to grow. Patrons make the world go round. That's how it is. Are you guys feeling all right? I'm just making sure you're okay, because you're still here. Everyone else is gone. The theater's empty, guys. It's over. Showtime's done. This is the part where I say nachos and cheese. And you put that in the comment section so I know you made it to the end of the video to see who the true believers are. That's the way it's going to be, man. And we have a giveaway this weekend. Patron giveaway on Sunday live stream. Who knows how that'll turn out? Even I don't know, which just, it blows my mind because I don't even know what's in those packs anymore. I had my kid put them together. Kind of scary. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Let's have a great one and enjoy, man. I'll see you guys on Sunday.